Yo, so guys, welcome back to another video. This is my second ever reaction to this channel. This is actually a Patreon video that I'm doing, and the video is why 200-ish Americans live in North Korea. And this is definitely one that is kind of like, it's a weird sort of idea, right? Like, you sort of think about it and you're thinking like, why is this the case? But I assume it's to do with maybe they're either forced to live there, but I feel like if they were forced to live there by the North Korean government or whatever, the US would just intervene and just get them out. But maybe it's just not that simple. But it is something that I'm sort of looking at the title and I'm just sort of thinking to myself, how has this actually happened? But I mean, we're going to see in this video how this is the case. It is quite an interesting topic though, and I am excited to get into it. But yeah, let's just get into it really. Why 200-ish Americans live in North Korea is something that I don't have a clue about, but I do get a lot of suggestions for this channel, and I thought, why not do it for this video? But yeah, hopefully you guys are going to enjoy. Thank you all for the Patreon support. It's incredible, and I'm excited for this journey that we're going to go on, and yeah, with this content and stuff. But let's get into this one. Let's see what this is about.
This video was made possible by CuriosityStream. When you sign up for an annual subscription at curiositystream.com/HAI, you'll also get access to Nebula, the streaming service HAI is a part of.
Get his money, yeah?
North Korea is a lot like North Dakota. They're both small, they're both isolated.
Wait, did I hear that right? North Korea is a bit like North Dakota. Okay, wow, I was not expecting that sort of stuff.
They both have a penchant for being run by dead people, and they both have some Americans living there, although far from enough to justify 2 seats in the Senate. If you're like me, you might find it strange that despite North Korea having no American embassy, and technically still being at war with the US, the Hermit Kingdom is home to a handful of resourceful, scrappy, independent, technically sort of treasonous Americans. But then again, you're probably not like me. I run a semi-successful YouTube channel about silly little facts, and you probably...
Man says semi-successful when he's nearly got 2 million subs, bro. Semi-successful does not describe his channel at all, man. Legendary, mate.
How many Americans live there, you ask? That's a great question, to which I'll give the same answer I gave when asked about how many Tic Tacs I could fit in my mouth at once. I'm not totally sure, but probably about 200. Americans in North Korea come in 3 flavors. Former US citizens who have renounced their citizenship and defected, still citizen humanitarians and educators, and Rocky Road. The first group, American defectors and their children, is also the smallest. In fact, we only know for certain about 2 living ones. These guys, the Dresnik brothers, pictured here, tying for last in a Kim Jong-un lookalike competition. Why are they there? Well, you see, in a conflict you likely learned but then forgot about in school, and then learned about again, and then forgot about again in one of the 5 videos I've made on North Korea. Back in the 1950s, the US and the USSR were in something called the Cool Conflict, and they took a look at East Asia and went, hey, nice Korea you've got there. Sure would be a shame if we, did a war to it. And so they did a war to it, and split the place into North Korea and Gangnam-style Korea. Once the war ended, which technically was never, but actually was in 1953, most of the Americans who had been doing the war went home, but a few of them thought to themselves, hey, you know what I've never tried before? Living in the world's most brutal fascist dictatorship. Why not give that a go? And so they did. And from 1953 to the 1980s, around 30 American prisoners of war and active military personnel decided not to leave or slipped across the DMZ and into North Korea. Some of them claim they did it to avoid court-martial or to avoid doing more war in Vietnam, but everyone knows the real reason is because they had a crush on Kim Jong-il. Just look at those dimples. Anyways, while most defectors have died, returned to the US, or relocated to China, an undisclosed but likely very small number of descendants remain in North Korea, and they don't particularly seem like they're coming back. And who can blame them? Getting to play roles in propaganda films as evil Americans and wearing uniforms that look taken from a high school production of Sound of Music is a level of fame that would be hard to give up. I mean, just look how happy they are. That's the face of a man who feels great about his life decisions. The larger, less permanent...
The happiness in his face is beyond belief.
And far less cosplayy portion of North Korea's American population is made up of humanitarians and university professors. Back in the 1990s, Christian groups took a break from protesting Kevin Smith movies and yelling at Monica Lewinsky and noticed that North Korea was suffering from brutal food shortages and extensive flooding, so they started sending people and supplies into the proudly atheist state, and they haven't stopped since. Now, this might seem like an odd arrangement considering North Korea's stance on religion, but Christians are really good at making themselves feel at home in places they aren't initially welcome. Just ask the Aztecs, or the Incas, or the Native Americans, or the Spanish, or the Lebanese, or, well, almost every country and ethnic group in the world, actually. It was a devout Christian who founded the Pyongyang University of Science and Technology, which sounds like a poorly disguised front for money laundering, but is actually a private university that employs up to 70 Americans a semester. At the Pyongyang University of Science and
Wait,
Technology, or TPUST, they don't call it that, but I think they should, Western professors, mostly from the States, teach 500 of the nation's young
That is crazy.
elite in business and
Wait. What? See, I was under the illusion they were not allowed to have contact with like Americans and stuff. Because I always see like clips on YouTube about people going to North Korea, but like they have to sort of be very secretive with their camera when they record certain things. And if people get caught doing that, they get in like serious trouble. So I was always under the belief that they just weren't allowed to sort of talk to Americans or outsiders from other countries from the Western world. But that is obviously not the case to a certain degree, which is
entrepreneurial
really
classes,
surprising.
all in spoken English. While it's unclear how many Americans currently work there given the US's ban on travel to the country, it is still very much open and active. Both the humanitarians and TPUST professors usually spend between 3 and 6 months in North Korea before heading back home to America and its many uniquely American comforts: French fries, English muffins, Belgian waffles, Chinese takeout, etc. But while they're still in the land of the uncreative haircut, Americans have to find things to do, and their options largely depend on where they're located. One common spot for Americans is the Rason Economic Zone, which is the chunk of the country carved out for what industry and economic investment exist in a country whose main export is nuclear threats. To North Korean eyes, the Rason Economic Zone would seem to be an international hub, but it's really more of an assortment of worn-out Russian and Chinese businessmen hanging out in a Chinese-funded casino. For the TPUST professors, who are based in Pyongyang, the whole capital city is at their fingertips. Well, there are interpreters and guides who watch over foreigners, but it's more fun if you think of them as super loyal, government-mandated travel buddies. What was once viewed as the world's most boring city is now home to a host of restaurants, shopping centers, skating rinks, social clubs, heck, even sketchy Wi-Fi for foreigners to enjoy, making Pyongyang, well, still probably one of the most boring cities in the world. If you're an American getting bored in Pyongyang, I've got a great idea for how you can stay entertained. You see, a while back, I and a bunch of educational-ish creator friends decided to make our own streaming site where we don't have to worry about demonetization or the YouTube algorithm. All we have to focus on is making great content.
I mean, fair enough, he's got his own ad tier. That's pretty sick, actually. But shout out to him, Wendover, and obviously Half as Interesting, making their money there, man. But this is an interesting one for sure. But it's just crazy how people optionally choose to live there in the first place. It's absolutely wild to me. Core Conflict, this should be a name of Cold War satire show. The awkward moment when you forget to switch accounts. Wait, this isn't Wendover Productions. Whenever a vid on Wendover Productions is private, expect it 5 minutes later on Half as Interesting. You're going to get a copyright strike by Wendover Productions for stealing their video. Wow, great video. Reminds me of a similar one that I saw on Wendover Production. Fuck's sake. Who watched this on... Oh, so this was initially on Wendover Productions then? Oh wow, oh good, this one isn't private. What the hell, that's kind of crazy then, but interesting topics for sure. And again, let me know underneath this video suggestions that you have for me to do in the future when it comes to Patreon reactions, because that's what this Patreon is. I want to see any suggestions you have. I'm going to start doing documentaries and stuff and all these different things in future, but yeah, just let me know what you want to see in the future. And yeah, until next time, like, subscribe, peace.